Hello, friend. So I had a fun idea. When I was younger, I liked to write stories. Was I good at writing stories? No. But did I write stories anyway? Yes. And they're just sitting in my Google Docs, and I have not seen these or read them in many, many years. So I'm gonna read you one. And if I have time, maybe I'll read you another, but I don't know. We'll see how long this takes me. But I thought it'd be fun to read some of my childhood stories while I train that I wrote. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, I haven't read this either, like before recording this, so I might interject with some of my own reactions to this. But if you guys want a part two, maybe I'll do a part two. Anyway, let's see. I have the first one pulled up here. This is called Ereboro, I believe. Farah climbed branch by branch up the tree and sat on one of the higher boughs. She took out her carving knife and found a good thick stick to carve. She began to slice through the rough bark on top and found beautifully soft wood underneath. She carved it away, leaving white shavings on her lap. When she was done, the head of a falcon was distinguishable from the wood around it. Fair leaned back against the sturdy trunk of the tree and sighed with luxury. The sun shone brightly, warming her face and soaking into her clothes. She closed her lids, letting her weary eyes rest. Sleep easily overtook her, and she was dancing among wild flowers, the scent of them sweet. Pause. For a little more context, this story in particular isn't like super, super old like some of my other ones. This is maybe like 6 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago. Don't if don't do it. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so yeah, that's some more context. I will continue. She was enjoying this fantasy she was in when a voice found its way into her dreams. Is she asleep? I don't know. Either that or she's keeping a really straight face, another small voice replied. Farah woke up but kept her eyes shut. She then opened them the smallest bit and peeked down below her. She saw two small elflings below her. One was a boy and one was a girl. Farah opened her eyes the rest of the way and stretched in her patch of sun, yawning. The elflings just stood there, staring at her with their large eyes. She smiled and took her carving knife back out. She ran her blade down the wood, smoothing out the broad shoulders of the falcon. The girl elfling stared at her feet, then burst out, "Why don't you talk?" Farah looked down with a gentle smile and replied, "I'm not sure." The elflings looked at her with awe and then continued to watch her as she carved the wings. She cut little notches in to make the appearance of feathers. She was soon done with them and put the falcon and her small knife into one of the many pockets she had. She leaped down and set off toward her home with a steady pace. She saw the tip of her wooden hut in the distance and sped swiftly through the forest. She charged out of the brush and stopped at the base of her hut. Looking up, she saw her little house tucked into the branches of the large twisty tree. She followed the four posts coming from the bottom of the house to a wooden platform underneath. A swinging chair hung, made out of thickly woven vines. Farah was admiring her little home when she saw what time it was. She ran towards the village and hurtled over the large log separating the village from the forest. She skidded to a stop in the middle of town. She arrived just in time. Farron, her brother, came and stood next to her. While the other members of the hunting league took their spots, Farron spoke. Today we are hunting in the East Wood. We will go as one team, then split at the twisty tree. A concerned look came on Farah's face. We're hunting in my part of the forest? Farron raised an eyebrow. Yes, that's what you agreed, remember? Farah looked down and kicked a small pebble. She remembered all right. She had talked to the village council, and they had agreed to let her build a home outside the boundaries, as long as she let them hunt there, and never be out past curfew. Farah sighed and grasped her bow handle. She always hated it when they had to hunt there. Her house was always stuck with little arrows afterward. But she clenched her teeth and listened to Farron. Head out. Remember, once we're past the twisty tree, no talking. They rushed forward, and they all leaped gracefully over the border log, and they all stopped and stood for a moment, looking up at Farah's little home. Now we'll split. Farron's voice broke through the silence. Farah, Taern, and Kyria go left. Rainey, me, and G will go right. The end. That is all I wrote. That is a page and a third of another page, I think. So it's not that much. But I have so many stories like this that are just like chunks of stories that I just never finished. So that's the first one. And yeah, it's not that bad. Actually, I don't think. It actually kind of like intrigues me. Like I want to know more, even though I was the one that wrote it. I'm gonna find another story and get right back to you. 1 second. Okay, I found another one. This, I have no clue how old this one is, but this one has a real end, and it's a very short story, so enjoy. This one is called Rusty the Grumpy Greedy Leprechaun. Based off of how I wrote it, like there's no, what do you call it? There's no paragraph spaces, it's just all in one clump. So this one's probably quite old. Once upon a time, at the base of a rainbow stood a little hut, and in this hut lived a greedy, grumpy leprechaun. He sat in his hut counting gold and making shoes. He hardly ever left his small home, not because he liked his home, but because he couldn't bear the thought of leaving his gold. He only went out when he was on the verge of starving, having no food. He would rush away from his little hut, hurriedly pick all the berries, mushrooms, and anything he could find that was edible, and rush back home, eager to look at his gold once more. Now, this leprechaun didn't realize it, but he was lonely. Because he was so grumpy, he didn't have any friends. Nobody wanted to be friends with such a greedy person. This leprechaun was named Rusty. And now he is in his little hut stacking gold coins. 999, 1,000! Rusty sat back on his stool, letting a wide grin spread across his face. He was contemplating how long it would take him to make another pair of shoes, when a small leprechaun with ragged clothes knocked on his door. Rusty's grin vanished, and he opened the door with an irate look on his face. The small leprechaun cowered and squeaked, "Please, can I borrow some sugar?" Rusty furrowed his eyebrows even deeper. "I don't care, just leave me alone." He slammed the door, mumbling about how annoying some people are. When he sat back down with his tools, he heard yet another knock. He threw his tools on the table and stormed up to the door. He flung it open and shouted, "I don't even have sugar!" When he looked down, he found a little dog. He glared at it. "Well, you're not who I was expecting." And he slammed the door. A few days later, the dog returned. This time, he slipped through the door before Rusty could slam it. He snapped up some berries left on the table. Rusty lifted a finger and was about to shout at the dog when it left. Rusty clenched his fists and went back to work. The dog kept returning, always entering, eating a few berries, and leaving. Eventually, Rusty got into the habit of wearily opening his door at 3:00 p.m., letting the dog eat. On the 17th of March, however, the dog came in, ate a berry, and curled up by the fire. Rusty thought about kicking the dog out, but just let him sleep. Rusty began to care for the dog, taking him on walks and feeding him. He named the dog Shamrock, and Shamrock helped Rusty become less greedy and taught him the importance of friendship. Rusty no longer sat in his hut all day counting gold. Instead, he went outside and walked Shamrock or played ball with him. Rusty began talking to his neighbors, even becoming close friends with a few. And every time St. Patrick's Day rolls around, Rusty and Shamrock celebrate the day they met. The end. Wait, that's kind of a cute story. I don't remember writing this. Well, I mean, I do, but like, I don't remember when it was. Because it was so long ago. But that was actually a cute story. I actually really liked that one. Let me see if I can find one more really short one to take up the last few minutes. Okay, so I tried to find another story just now, and I actually read it, but it ended up being too long for the video, like, length. So I'm gonna have to save it for next time. If I do another part, I'll read it. But it's another, I found another version of the first story. Like it's Farah and Farron again, and it's like a very like similar-ish storyline to the first one. It's just a lot more condensed and shorter. Like it makes me wonder if I wrote that one first and then read it a few years later and was like, oh my gosh, I could improve upon this. And so I rewrote it because it sure seems like that's what that was to me. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the stories I wrote as a child. And I know I did. And I have one in mind that I wrote that is I don't like remember why I loved reading it so much, but I will add it in the next part if I do another part. But that one I just remember so vividly. I think it might have been because of how bad it was. Like these last two actually weren't that bad, but I have some worse ones that are like super old. So let me know if you would like me to read those. Because I would love to read them to you. They're hilarious. Anyways, thank you guys for being here and watching this video. And I hope you have a good day. Please go get some sunshine. It is the summer. We love the summer. Oh my gosh. And have a great rest of your day. I'll see you later. Bye.